Welcome to another edition of Inside Off-Road. In this program, we take a look back at round 6 of the Northern Region Championship and bring you the latest news and views from the ABSA National Series. The recent 4x4 Mega World 400 at Carnival City brought the spectacle of off-road racing into the heart of Gauteng. The Carnival City complex is a popular East Rand landmark and for nearly a decade has hosted a round at the ABSA Off-Road Championship. Regional Championship competition is the nursery of the future, and the decision by the South African National Off-Road Association to run regional races in conjunction with national events is reaping dividends. National Championship contender Johan van Staden came through the regional ranks and is putting something back into the sport. Through his KEC Electrical Contracting Group, van Staden is sponsoring events counting towards the Northern Region Championship.
With my son entering, it's a bifactor. But the fact is our heart still lies with the regionals. That's where we started the racing. That's where you got the blood into the veins. You learn to drive on the regionals. You learn to fix your car. You learn to read the terrain properly. As you can see, the regional guys are all struggling. And I felt that yes, since we got so much from the regionals, from an experience point of view, why not give back? So we started giving back last year, and this year we upped it a bit. And my son joining with Adrian Roots, we got a team that we can also watch now in the regionals to see what they're capable of.
Two of the youngest competitors in the Northern Region Series are 19-year-old Adrian Roots, who has teamed up with 15-year-old Sean van Staden.
My dad drove for a long while and I learned from him with doing the routes and things like that when I was younger. So I started learning from him and started driving at about the age of 6. So
young Sean van Staden already had a win under his belt sitting alongside his father and was linking up with Adrian Woods for the first time.
He's the driver, you should trust the driver and you should just listen to the calls, and we're just going to take it slow and get the car back into the pits.
Technical skill and engineering creativity are not the sole preserve of national teams, and brothers Derek and Frans de Wit campaign a car that incorporates some radical design features.
What we did here is based on an American truggy style with a diff at the back, long swing arms, engine in the front, and it's more or less like a bucky, but the whole system is designed more or less on the principle of American trucking.
The DWR racing entry was designed by a third de Wit brother and relies on some American muscle in the engine compartment.
It's a 3.8 Chevy engine. It's a very low kilowatt engine, but we've got a lot of Newton meter torque, so we're trying to keep the Newton meters are not there, but we're working on the torque because we're running an automatic gearbox in the car.
South African off-road racing has a high profile locally and internationally, and through the Northern Region and KwaZulu-Natal Championships, new talent is being attracted to the sport. Among the newcomers are former motorcycle racer Mike Fine and Dewald Hatton.
I went to one of the race meetings one day, watching the guys, looked like they were having a lot of fun. Spoke to my mate Dewald here, he said, let's give it a try. So we thought, well, let's give it a try.
By linking up with the 4x4 Mega World stable overseen by Dion Venter, rookies Mike Fine and Dewald Hatton have started off on the right foot.
We found a car for sale there. We went up there, spoke to old Dion. Shame, he's been so accommodating and helped us so much with the racing and that, teaching us all the ranks, helping us. Great guys, really good team to have with us.
Off-road racing vehicles don't all have to be muscle cars. Cedrian de Villiers and co-driver Dwayne Voigt successfully campaigned the smallest car in the Northern Region Series with a tiny and locally developed UTV powered by an 1100cc engine.
We're racing with the smallest vehicle in the competition, but we've got the advantage that it's quite a light vehicle, so the power to weight ratio is definitely helping us. It's a small 1100 Cherry engine. We initially started with that just to experiment with it, but it's doing so well at the moment that we're going to continue for the rest of the season with it. We're busy with a new vehicle that we're building for next year, which will be based on similar principles, but completely different combination vehicle and engine ratio.
After 4 wins in 5 races, the father and son team of Tony and Michael Gouveia went to Carnival City with a clear lead over veteran Gil Nel and Johan de Klerk in the Special Vehicle Championship. On the production vehicle front, there was a tight situation with Mitsubishi crew Henny Lemmer and Paul Slabbert holding a 6-point advantage over Toyota team Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk. Competitors in the Northern Region Championship start after the ABSA National Series teams and leave the line according to a seeding list based on previous race times. With 4 wins in 5 races, Tony and Michael Gouveia were first away from the Carnival City start, with the father and son pair followed by veteran former national champion Gil Nel and Johan de Klerk in the portable shade Zarco Light. Northern Region crews were required to tackle a single race lap of just over 170 kilometers, with national teams completing 2 laps of the course. At the 40-kilometer mark, Francois Conradi and Andrew van der Westhuizen were leading the Class P contingent in an early spec bat. Conradi and van der Westhuizen started in 15th place on the road and were being chased by Adrian Witz and Sean van Staden, who started 3 places behind them, with the teenagers losing time when the KEC bat picked up an early puncture. Once they were underway again, Adrian Witz and Sean van Staden set about the task of rapidly working their way through the field. The youngsters quickly built up a head of steam that was to see them catch and then overtake a string of special and production vehicles that had started ahead of them. Overtaking in dusty conditions is not always an easy task. Cars are fitted with an electronic proximity device known as a screamer, which warns slower traffic when a faster car wants to go past. A green light shines in both cars when a vehicle is within 30 meters of the car ahead, and the light turns to red when the distance is down to 10 meters. The screamer is simply a warning device, and a unit that malfunctions or an obstinate crew who loathe to give up a hard-earned position can lead to a few frustrations. While youngsters Adrian Witz and Sean van Staden were making rapid progress through the field, back at the 40-kilometer mark, Tony and Michael Gouveia were in their customary position at the head of the Class B field in the Gearbox Services bat. The Gouveias hail from Benoni and were on home turf, with the pair running ahead of Gil Nel and Johan de Klerk, who were at this stage 3rd in Class P in the portable shade Zarco Light. The veteran Nel has throughout his career had a reputation for consistency, and 4 finishes and 5 starts saw the Germiston-based driver and de Klerk, a Northwest attorney, in control of the Class P championship. At the 40-kilometer mark, Toyota Hilux crew Gene Boshoff and Lotte Klein were running at the head of the Class C field and were leading the production vehicle category. They went past Cedrian de Villiers and Dwayne Voigt, who had run into an electrical problem in the UTV. While resetting the engine management system, de Villiers and Voigt were passed by Ian Boshoff and Meer van Wyk in a second Toyota Hilux, with the pair in search of a 3rd Class C win in a row. With running repairs completed, the little UTV was also back in action. The ABSA and Northern Region Championships attract competitors from neighbouring territories, and in the early stages of the race, Botswana driver John Boxhoorn was running strongly in Class B in the single-seater WPP. At this stage, Boxhoorn was running 2nd in class, and behind him, Derek and Frans de Wit were also going along nicely in the DWR racing entry. Behind the 2 special vehicles, Jaco Visser and JJ Popel were leading Class D in a Mitsubishi Colt. Visser and Popel had already moved ahead of championship leaders Henny Lemmer and Paul Slubbert in a 2nd Mitsubishi and looked to be on track for their 1st class win of the season. Not far behind Visser and Popel, a close battle had developed between the Sandmaster of Manny Fernandez and Joshua Haser, and the KEC Ford in the hands of Carl and Kylo Labuskachny were running 3rd in Class C behind the Boshoff Toyotas. With special and production vehicles running together, both the ABSA National and Northern Region Championships are littered with little cameo performances where entries from different categories find themselves locked in battle. For rookies Mike Fine and Dewald Huttung, the battle was a short-lived affair. A mechanical problem reduced Fine and Huttung to spectators for the rest of the day, with the 4x4 Megawheel Toyota Hilux rendered hors de combat with a broken clutch not far into the race. Sections of what overall was a fast route opened up to allow cars to build up a head of steam. Joe Putter was flying along in the nicely turned out Raceco and was a solid fourth in Class B. There was plenty of action brewing behind Putter, with the Mitsubishi Colt of Class D Championship leaders Henny Lemmer and Paul Slubbert being chased by a gaggle of special vehicles. Right behind Lemmer and Slubbert were veteran Wolf-Pieter Fumfai in one of his home-built WPP single-seaters, and Cedrian de Villiers and Dwayne Voigt, who were on a charge in the UTV and had moved ahead of Manny Fernandez and Joshua Haser in the Caterpillar Sandmaster. Towards the back of the Class B contingent, brothers Clive and Sean Sutherland were having an interesting day in the Jimco tandem. The pair had lost radio communications, which led to one or two little mishaps, and there is always a TV cameraman where you don't want him to be. The Sutherland brothers were not yet out of the woods, and after deciding to give the water crossing a miss, another interesting little exercise provided them with a few anxious moments in the car, imported from America, that won a national race back in the 90s. There were also problems for Rickers Prinsloo and LP Kombrink, with the Cobra Spec 1 stranded on the side of the track. An interested band of spectators had gathered around the car, but a day that started off well for the pair had turned pear-shaped, and they were also reduced to spectators with a broken side shaft.
Ons het 'n dryf asgebreek. Ongelukkig het ons nou nie nuwe nie, so nie. So ja, dit is per ongelukkig verby vir ons. So maar volgende keer probeer.
Can a Suzuki Jimny really run with the big 4x4 boys? How high can a Mercedes-Benz Geländewagen's rear wheel lift off the ground? How does a real 4x4 driver negotiate a water crossing? And how do you hit a hole-in-one with a 4x4? The first round of the 2012 Bridgestone 4x4 Fundi Challenge premieres this weekend on Ignition.
Need a bar key? Get a Photon Thunder for only $1,950 a month. Standard with power steering, radio CD player, plus a 3-year 100,000-kilometer warranty. Yours for only $1,950 per month. VAT-registered businesses get VAT back. Photon, quality first, value always.
The 2012 National Rally Championship starts heading towards a spectacular conclusion as the action reaches the Western Cape for the first time in 2012. After 5 events, we have 5 different winners. But remember, it's all about the points table, not necessarily the podiums. Catch all the drivers at full tilt on the very fast Toyota dealer Cape Rally this weekend on NRC Super 1600. Only on Ignition, DSTV 189.
Homeward bound on the 4x4 Mega World 400, and teenagers Adrian Witz and Sean van Staden had moved from 18th on the road to 1st and were around 3 minutes ahead of Francois Conradi and Andrew van der Westhuizen. The pair were also leading Class P, but it was a performance not without its little problems. Sections of the route through mining and agricultural properties often made for difficult navigation, and Ritz and van Staden lost valuable time while they worked out which way they wanted to go. When they had finally made up their minds which way to go, Adrian Witz and Sean van Staden were waved on their way by a pair of locals. Fortunately for the teenage KEC back crew, Francois Conradi and Andrew van der Westhuizen also ran into a corridor of uncertainty with the roadbook and the GPS aid. They also lost time, which was to ease the pressure on Witz and van Staden and give them a little extra breathing space. On the other side of the coin, the time lost saw Conradi and van der Westhuizen slipping into the clutches of Gilnel and Johan de Klerk, who gained a few seconds, with the pair producing another of their steady Eddie performances in the portable shade Zarco light. Class B leaders Tony and Michael Gouveia could not catch the Class P cars for pace, but were on course for a 5th successive class win, which would consolidate their hold on the Special Vehicle Championship. At around 140 kilometers into the 170-kilometer loop, there had been a change at the front of the production car field and in Class E. Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk had moved ahead of Boshoff's brother Jean and Lotte Klein, but there was only 8 seconds between the two Toyota Hiluxes. Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk were looking for a 3rd straight win, and it looked as though team orders had come into play. The Northern Region Championship also includes a club class category where Jaco du Plessis and Louis Bester were in complete control in an aging Toyota Land Cruiser that was sounding healthy and full of running. Also full of running, but nearly 17 minutes behind Tony and Michael Gouveia in Class B, was the home-built WPP of Wolf-Pieter Fumfai. The veteran Fumfai was being chased by the Mitsubishi Colt of Class D leaders Jaco Visser and JJ Popel, who were to suffer the misfortune of a breakdown within sight of the finish. A steady run had taken Johan Steyn and Sean van der Berg into 3rd place in Class B, with the pair trying to chase down Wolf-Pieter Fumfai, who was only around 40 seconds ahead of the Zarco pair. After their early problems, Cedric de Villiers and Dwayne Voigt had done well to take the little UTV into 4th place, although the pair were more than 20 minutes behind Steyn and van den Berg and coasting along around 40 minutes behind Tony and Michael Gouveia. It had been tough going for Martinus Leroux and Gustav Pinard in a Sandmaster now sporting enclosed bodywork. They were 1 second shy of being 50 minutes behind Class B leaders Tony and Michael Gouveia and were running in what was a comfort zone. They were 10 minutes behind the de Villiers Voigt UTV and comfortably ahead of Lapis and Kylo Labiskachny, who were 3rd in Class E in the Ford. The Ford was just under an hour behind the 2 leading Toyota Hiluxes, but after a string of non-finishers in what has been a disappointing year for the father and son team, the Labiskachnys were set to score their first points of the season. You have to give off-road racers full marks for perseverance. Although they were 90 minutes behind the Class B leaders, Manny Fernandez and Joshua Haser were still pushing as hard as they could in the Caterpillar Sandmaster. The Sandmaster is from an off-road era, now shrouded in the mists of time, and the Jimco tandem of Clive and Sean Sutherland is in the same boat. The brothers were 2 hours behind Tony and Michael Gouveia after an adventurous outing, and it looked as though a search party had been sent out to look for Leonard Duplessis and Janko Kutsia, who were the last of the classified finishers in another Sandmaster. Back at the finish, Adrian Witz and Sean van Staden completed a maiden special vehicle victory that had members of the Witz family turning cartwheels. The youngsters were 2 minutes and 50 seconds clear of Francois Conradi and Andrew van der Westhuizen, with Gil Nel and Johan de Klerk completing the podium. For the 5th time in 5 races, Tony and Michael Gouveia were the first of the Class B entries. Proud parents Adrie and Linda Roots and Johan van Staden and wife Adrie joined their sons at the traditional podium ceremony, with the 2 youngsters once again proving the old adage that blood is thicker than water.
Ek het dit regtig nie verwag nie. Baie bly daarvoor. Dink maar dit was regtig baie moeilik. Ons oude het nie gewerk nie goed, maar ons het so hier en daar het Sean reg gekom, goeie navigator gewees vandag.
With 5 class wins and 5 outings, Tony and Michael Gouveia consolidated their position in the Special Vehicle Championship, with Gil Nel and Johan de Klerk and Johan Steyn and Sean van den Berg completing the top 3. On the production vehicle front, Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk made it 3 wins in a row and also took the Class E honours. They were just 8 seconds ahead of Jean Boshoff and Lotte Klein, with Carl and Kylo Labiskachny scoring their first points of the season. There were no finishers in Class D. Any race over around 170 kilometres that finishes with only 8 seconds between first and second has to be described as a close fought affair. For Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk, it was too close for comfort.
Gelukkig wen vir Jean en Liter met 8 secondes. Na 160 kilometers, dit was maar redelijk tyd geweest vir ons. En ons wil net weer dankie sê vir Johan van Staan hulle van en Dion hulle van 4x4 Mega World en force field wat ook nou aan boord is om die regional ouens te borg of te help om dit ook moontlik te maak.
A third win on the trot takes Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk to the top of the Production Vehicle Championship, where they had a narrow lead over Henny Lemmer and Paul Slubbert, who picked up their second non-finish in a row. After a 10-year association, South African Off-Road Racing parts company with ABSA at the end of the season and will move into a new era with new sponsors. The South African National Off-Road Association is also taking a progressive stance on marketing the sport and safety issues.
In 2013, we have a new overall sponsor. A lot of changes from a marketing point of view, from the show point of view. We're quite a long way down with our marketing program. But we've also this year spent quite a lot of money, well, a lot of money in fact, on making sure that the safety of the events is up to world-class standards, that the way we do our timing. We've also been training officials, so we're making sure that the roadshow is there, but also the people that support the roadshow, and making sure that we have a really good long-term basis, a good foundation for the future.
Race officials, marshals and medical personnel all work closely on off-road events to ensure the safety of competitors and spectators. A new radio system now in operation is part of the initiative that will take the sport into the future.
We've got the new digital Motorola type radios. The beauty of it is that they can talk radio to radio or in a group or all the radios to each other. At this stage, all the officials on one channel. I've got the marshals on the other channel. And the future is to expand it to a point where we have radios in the cars, so that we can first of all track the cars, but then also have the crews and the competitors that can talk to each other no matter where they are on the track.
South African off-road crews have a proud record on the Dakar Rally. Janelle de Villiers has a win and a podium place this year to his name on the world's toughest race. And the Imperial Toyota and Century Racing teams did South Africa proud on this year's Dakar Rally. The Imperial Toyota team will be back in South America next year, and by winning the Dakar Challenge on the Toyota 1000 Desert Race in Botswana in June, the motor-right racing pair of Evan Hutchison and Dani Stassen will be joining them. Inside Off-Road caught up with Evan at the 4x4 Megaworld 400 to update us on their preparations for what is the opportunity of a lifetime.
Since we won that prize, it's been quite busy trying to put this whole package together. But yeah, we've been successful. We've got a plan. The plan has come together now. We've done a deal with Overdrive, who will look after us at the Dakar, the same team that looks after Hall Speed's Toyotas. And we've done a deal with Toyota or with Glen Hall here at Hall Speed for a vehicle. So everything's in place. We've got our entry, obviously, that we had won, and now we're on a major fundraising drive. Yeah.
Although he is a highly experienced former South African champion, Hutchison has no experience in driving 4x4 production vehicles in race conditions. But where Evan is concerned, self-confidence is a commodity that has never been lacking.
I don't know, we ran the Revo for 3 years, which is a four-wheel drive and very similar to what a Bakkie would be. So I have a lot of experience here. I haven't raced in an SP Bakkie, I have no experience in that, and I probably won't get much practice in it before we go to the Dakar. But like I said, the Revo was very similar, and we've got 9,000 Ks to get used to it. We're going there with a different mindset. We're not going there to win the race, we're going there to get a good result and learn a lot about the Dakar. But at the moment we've got a fantastic car, probably one of the best cars there, and probably one of the best teams to support us. So I've just got to, if we get it right, I've just got to go and drive through that race, and I think the results will come to us. Yeah.
The Dakar Rally is also very much on the agenda where Ford Motor Company and Ford Racing in South Africa are concerned. Ford Racing, under former South African champion Neil Woolridge, is building 2 new cars for the South African Championship, and work has also started on a Dakar Rally Challenger. Ford Racing crew Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst are in contention to win this year's South African Production Vehicle Championship, and Woolridge is excited about the future.
We've got a very exciting future for Ford Racing. We're busy building two new T6 Rangers for Ford Motor Company, and also we've got an overseas program where we're building T6 Rangers for the Dakar Rally and for FIA competitions. Some exciting times ahead of us. We've just finished the first car, the first South African car. We've done a little bit of testing, and all things go well, we should see it at the next event.
For many years, Neil Woolridge has been a strong campaigner for South African off-road rules and regulations to be brought into line with those in operation in international competition. By following international trends, Woolridge sees doors opening for South African teams to compete in foreign events.
It's very exciting. I've been one pushing for a long time to bring the South African regulations closer to the international regulations, or vice versa, whichever way you put it, because it's important that we can compete overseas. We've seen Toyota do it, we want to do it, there's other teams that want to do it, so it's important that the regulations are close, and essentially we can almost build one car. And what better than to see South Africans racing overseas and doing well, and international people coming here and racing, so it'll be fantastic for the sport.
In recent seasons, the premier SB class in the production vehicle category in the ABSA Off-Road Championship has shown phenomenal growth. With 2 new Ford Racing entries coming on stream, the team's current cars will be made available to privateers.
No, the 2 current cars, they'll probably get handed on to some privateers in some way. I'm not sure exactly how it'll work yet, but most definitely we'll still see those cars around. And then we'll have 2 new T6 Rangers for next year.
Privateer teams in the ABSA Off-Road Championship have for a number of seasons campaigned Ford Rangers originally raced by the factory team. The Rubicon, Unifreight and Transcore teams currently run Ford Racing Rangers built in Pietermaritzburg.
I think everybody knows my stance in that we've got to grow the sport, and we've done that fantastically. If we look at the last event, I think we had nearly 90 entries, and we've got to get more youngsters and more cars out there. And I've look at the SP class today. I think we've got 5 Fords alone just in the SP class, and that's great. And if we can have another 2 next year at least in the hands of some more youngsters or privateers, fantastic.
The next event on the ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar is the Himan Auto 400 in Tabanshu in the Free State on October the 19th and 20th.